cry sounded, coming from deeper in the brush than he'd originally thought. There, a trail tramped down where someone had gone before him. He slapped away the limbs hanging across his path, sweeping the flashlight from side to side. The pounding of his heart mirrored the urgency of the feeble wail. Harvey stopped mid-step. 5 feet ahead, a bunch of fabric squirmed on the ground. He sucked in his breath and crept forward. He knelt, and the undergrowth pricked his knees. A funny smell hung in the air, both sweet and sharp. Harvey laid the flashlight on the ground, aiming the light, then reached for a corner of the fabric to uncover this foreign being whose squall had receded to feeble grunts and whimpers. He recoiled. The tiny thing with squinched tight eyes was covered in drying blood and a white cheesy substance. Taking the corner of the fabric, he wiped the baby's face, crouching close as he inspected for injury. The baby stilled at his touch and gave a languid blink. Their gazes locked for a fleeting moment. Everything faded. No sound of road noise. No buzz of mosquitoes by his ear. A tiny fist raised. He brushed the baby's palm, and it wound its pink fingers around Harvey's thumb. Warmth exploded in his chest, then traveled all the way through him. He swept the bundle into his arms and with a spare shirt rubbed until the child's perfect pink skin was cleared of blood. An injury-free baby girl, naked, wrapped in a man's flannel shirt. Harvey stood and turned a slow circle. Babe pressed close. Where had she come from? Who left her behind? He undid the top 2 buttons of his large shirt and tucked the baby inside to share his heat. Would the wild pounding of his heart hurt her ears? She had a full head of dark, downy hair. Now dried, it stood up in fuzzy curls that tickled his chest. He stroked her cheek, and she jerked her head toward his touch, searching. Faint grunts. She bobbed her open mouth against his skin. Sorry, little one. I don't have anything for you. Let's get back to camp and we'll figure something out. He had boxes of things stored for the day he found a use for them, but none contained bottles and infant formula. Baby girl, finally convinced food wasn't available, ceased her fretting, nuzzled, and fell asleep, lulled by the sway of his long stride. Harvey pressed his lips in a line. Should he pack her in a basket and deposit her on the doorstep of a nice suburban home? A hospital? A shudder ran through him, and she squirmed against the movement. No, he wouldn't leave her. He'd spent his own childhood tossed about at the whims of others, and he didn't want that life for this little one, who was no more than a few hours old and had already been abandoned. Back at camp, a clearing in the middle of a circle of towering pines, he entered the lean-to he'd built over the past few years from lost lumber, cinder blocks, and a tarp, and settled the baby on the pallet so he could dig through his supplies. His supply bins were overflowing with boxes and boxes of noodles in styrofoam cups. After cleaning up an overturned 18-wheeler last spring, a road crew had left hundreds of cups of noodles behind as trash. He'd be eating lost noodles for years. Harvey might be labeled homeless, but he didn't beg. In 30 years of walking this earth, he'd never asked anything from anyone. Didn't need to. People abandoned and lost enough for him to live on. But since newborns couldn't eat noodles or the fish he caught from the creek, it was time to deviate from his well-oiled life plan. He couldn't wait for a diaper bag to fall off a luggage rack. Chapter 2. Present Day. The atmosphere in her office shifted, that almost imperceptible awareness of another's presence. Ivy closed a file and lifted her head. A pair of chocolate-brown eyes set in smooth tan skin peered around the corner of the doorway. Emmett Rawlings, the darling of